Well, good morning, everybody. How are you? Tuesday, another day in the week. This one's proven to be somewhat uneventful so far, but it's early and you never know, you know. Not around here, anyhow. So, going along with that story yesterday, I said about J.D. Vance will never be president. Did you see how the YouTube story where they held up signs as he was coming into town saying J.D. Vance is a pedophile? I don't think he's a pedophile, but I do think he's an idiot for getting himself associated with Trump. A man of his intellect and his ability to converse could have been an extremely large pain in the ass for Trump and could have made a name for himself instead of just being some guy that sits behind Trump and does whatever he wants. Well, you know, that was yesterday's big story. Now there's another big story that actually I covered a little bit yesterday about this New York City gunman who parks his car, gets out of his car with an M4, walks into this building, takes the elevator up to I don't know what floor he finally got off on. Shoots a cop in the back, shoots a security guard, shoots a couple other people. I think he killed 4 people in total. And then put the gun against his chest and blew a hole through his chest. Now, an M4 carries if you're saying, well, these guys were wearing vests, wouldn't have helped. Not at the distance he was shooting at them, and not with the rounds that he was using. I know they didn't have to be armored piercing. They were 7.62. They will go through unless you have ballistic plates in them, like they do in combat. Those vests aren't going to work. The average vest that the average cop in New York wears won't work. I don't know whether the security guard had one at all either, but they're usually put underneath your shirt so they don't see it, and it'll stop most rounds. Stop 9 millimeters at 25 feet, but they're not going to stop a 7.62 at 25 feet. It's going to go through the vest and through the guy. Okay. Doesn't have to be armor piercing. If it was armor piercing, it'd go through the side of the building too. So no, that's just he was outgunned. These guys were outgunned, and that's just not the way it's supposed to be. I don't know how he got into the building without being stopped carrying a live weapon, but that's questions for the building security to answer, and. We'll wait and see what happens with them. What else am I talking about here? Do I know? Probably not. But he was headed for the NFL offices. So somehow or another, he drove from Vegas to New York City to shoot up the idea of shooting up the NFL offices. Now he's not a player, so I don't know what they did. They either changed the rule he didn't like, or the NFL program became too expensive for him and he got pissed. I think the NFL program's too expensive for everybody. Anyhow, they're taking the game away from the people that built it, They're taking it away from the time when the guys brought their families to the Polo Grounds to see the Giants play, Now it's a different story. Now it's a commercialized sport, like everything else. Do you know down here I have a channel dedicated to paddleball? I don't even know. It's a ridiculous game. I don't think it's a ridiculous game, but it's very difficult to figure out the scoring sometimes. It's a combination of tennis and handball. Play with a racket, and you're playing against people on the other side of a net. But you get to use the walls, the roof, everything. You can run outside in the hallway. I mean, it's kind of strange, But that's what I'm saying. That's what sports has come down to. Everything's commercialized, and everybody wants to watch. Whatever you want to watch is commercialized. And I don't know whether that's a good idea or not, but that's what they do. I got something on my glasses here. Hope it's not chipped. That's all right. Okay. So, anything's possible with this guy, being pissed off like that. But that's where sports have gotten to. I mean, you legalize now. You can uh, legalize sports betting, which was something like a $200 billion. There's billions of dollars are bet on sports, especially the Super Bowl. I think it was over $100 billion. I don't pay that much attention to it. I only wanted my share back. But when you're talking about the big betters aren't going to bet legally. You know, they're still gonna use the bookies, but they're taking the game away from people. Look at baseball games. You can't. Of course, if you want to take a kid to a game, let's say you take your kid, your friend, and his kid, 4 people, about $250. Not counting traveling time and everything else to the game, to and from the game, which is worth money to some people. But around $250 for a daily, one trip. And you got a kid that loves baseball. Come on, Dad, let's go to the game this weekend. No, what are you, crazy? Well, let's go to the local team. They won't do that. That's where you have to go. You can't go see the top tier teams anymore unless you're rich. All right. And I don't know. I guess hockey's that expensive now too. And so is the NBA. I used to go to NBA. I used to go to hockey games because it was cheap. $10, $20 a ticket, something like that. I used to buy season tickets. Can't do that anymore. The last season tickets sport. No, that was that then? Yeah, it might have been right around the same time I had the hockey tickets. Was the old USFL. I still have some of the ticket stubs laying around here. Yeah, I had good seats, and there was nobody at the game, so you could pretty much go where you wanted to. And then Trump took it over and ruined it, and that's true. He ruined it. He ruined the USFL when he went after his buddy. The running back. What was his name? I don't remember offhand, but he ran for Senate in Georgia and lost because he's nuts. He's just not a politician. He's got there's some weird stuff about him, but he's doesn't do a lot of it. He's very low key, and I think that was part of the problem with him not getting elected. But he had no experience whatsoever, and if you talked to the guy, you knew he wasn't. This wasn't going to be a great fit. But Trump doesn't want educated people surrounding him. I think he did that the first term, and he got very upset because they told him what to do. And they told him he was wrong. So he got he did what he did in his corporate world, and that caused all the bankruptcies and everything. He got a bunch of yes people who, whether it's right or wrong, will do whatever they're told to do. And that's, not a good idea either. But, I don't really know. I didn't read in the article what drove this guy, and I'm assuming it was maybe he got noticed that his TV contract was going to cost him more money, and or canceled it without telling him or something because he did something wrong. I don't know, but he was supposedly going after it. We'll find out later on. If I find out anything that's interesting, I'll tell you. If it's not interesting, I'm not going to bother. But that's why he was there. And that makes, to me, that makes no sense whatsoever. Now, another big story that we don't cover enough is the starvation going on in Gaza. And I think that's a huge problem for people because this is an area that Trump had said he wanted to wipe it clean so that he could build a resort there. You know, he wanted to convert it into like a Vegas type deal. You know, real high class, or like Qatar or Dubai. You know, he wanted it to be along those lines, which is great. But again, the average person, the person that they're killing, is not going to get a chance to go there. You know, it's just like the people in the World Cup in Africa and whatnot, and when they build those stadiums over there in that part of the world, in Asia, in Africa, what have you, people die. Those people that work for don't get a chance to buy tickets, and if they're smart, they won't because they're too expensive. Because I have to tell you that unless you know the game inside and out, and unless you have great seats, that game can be very boring. You know, and a great defensive game is actually a very boring game, similar to the pros in football. You know, and a pitcher's duel can be a pitcher's duel can be exciting. You know, you can, if you watch it on television, the announcers can make the game exciting. You know, unless you're Mel Allen, then you fall asleep someplace. You know, but that's you know, you don't remember who Mel Allen is, do you? Oh well, I tried. Anyhow, this is an expensive. Sports are expensive, and the gambling is just ruining the sport because we used to complain about. Used to have watch my. I never complained about it because I didn't care one way or the other. But even when I bet, I didn't care as long as I won, and I did. The games being can now be fixed very easily, and I don't think the NFL's internal policing is enough. So I don't know how they're going to control it, but eventually you're going to see a game that shouldn't happen, and everybody's going to get upset, and everybody that knew about it, which is all the rich people, will get richer because of it, and then you know that's the way it's going to go. Football is ruining itself by spreading it too thin. How can if you're a fan of the Raiders, you've been a fan of the Raiders for like as long as I have, which is since I've been, since they came into existence in the league, and the AFL, the old AFL, Mark Davis running the team and everything, Al Alzado, Kenny Stable, the Snake, Biletnikoff, who a friend of mine knew very well. And I got to meet football players back then, which is a little bit more difficult now. But, Sam Huff was an idol of mine when I was growing up. And he was the first player to be mic'd up, and I think he had a lot to do with the promotion of the game. But then you know, if you see a Raider get, you spent the same amount of money you've always spent for season tickets, but now you have one less home game, sometimes two, because of being played in Dubai or Mexico City. Well, Mexico City, a lot of Californians can go to that, but they can drive down there if they want, make a weekend out of it. But I'm saying, basically, you're removing the ability of the fans to go to that game and root for them, especially if they paid money for the seat. So they're making double the money on those seats because they're selling the seats overseas. They make 100% profit. Well, whatever the profit margin is over there, I don't know how they break it down, who gets what out of that, but they're making 100% profit on the game here. Then because they're getting paid there and they're getting paid over there. And that's not right. And that could be what upset this guy, That could really have pissed him off. He could have been let's say he's coming out of Vegas, so he could have been a Raider fan, a Charger fan. I don't know who teams are playing overseas this year. But he could have gotten pissed because he loses a home game. And he's forced to watch the game on television at some ridiculous hour, when he's not about, when the one thing he doesn't want to do is, he wants to get laid at that hour of the morning. He doesn't want to be, watching football. So that's what, that's where the problems arise. And maybe that's what ticked him off. That would tick me off, but I don't think I'd go get a gun about it. I just stop watching football. You know, I pay over $100 a year to watch every game possible on the cable, but as soon as they start limiting it and raising the prices, then I'm gone. I don't need to watch football. You know, at my age, I fall asleep before the end of the day. So, you know. All right, listen, that's it for me today. I've ran over, okay, but that's all right. I don't have a specific time limit. I just try to keep it short and sweet. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel. With the football season coming, I will find out, try to do a little bit more in depth on some of the football teams and my opinions of what they're doing, as a fan of some teams, like the Raiders and the Giants. I'm a fan, and I'm a fan of some players like Baker Mayfield and some of the other guys, but Baker Mayfield comes to mind right away. So that'll be going on, and we'll be doing that special. We'll probably be doing that Sunday morning, which I'm not doing anything on Sundays now, but I'll probably start doing that on Sunday mornings. So anyhow, that's it. Subscribe, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.